and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your off my personal brand for once host, Madelyn.
I'm your calling. You feel the calling host, Emma.
See, if you were going to do soundtrack as the theme, I could have done a good one too, but that's okay. And thanks for tuning into the show. This week, it's I almost said our annual, but of course that's not how a 6-weekly podcast works. Our 6-weekly side quest edition, where we download our saved data from the memory card utility into your ears and talk about what we've been playing for the past 6 weeks. So it's going to be a good one. I, for one, finished a bunch of games, so bring it on.
All right.
Rah me. How many do you have on your list this time, Emma?
4 and some change.
Okay, good. Then we're matched up.
5 and some change.
Okay, then you should start.
Okay. I guess we'll start with I both started and finished one campaign of Scarlet Nexus during these 6 weeks. I had played the demo and I talked about it in our last 6 weeks episode, but I have my fancy new PS5 now, and I want, boxes on my shelf that say PS5 on them. So, and I liked the Scarlet Nexus demo, so I was like, sure, I'll get it and play it. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I would say, everything's really, really great except for the writing itself. And I don't even mean, the plot or the ideas. I just mean, the actual line-to-line writing and kind of the way it's laid out, the way the ideas and plot are laid out is not very good.
So I was going to ask, do you think it's just a bad translation? But it sounds like it's beyond that.
It might partially be, but it feels, so off that it can't just be the localization,
Scarlet Nexus exists in my brain, partially as your absolutely inscrutable text messages about it, to be honest, but also because it was getting advertised at me on Hulu, I guess, right around when it came out, and fooled me into thinking it was a Fire Emblem game every single time. Something about the voice acting, the quality of the voice acting was this is a Fire Emblem protagonist. Had that kind of sound.
They really, really pushed it marketing-wise, Bandai Namco, which is kind of surprising, because, I don't know, it's a new IP, so, good for them. They're trying new things out. I just want to give, some of my, favorite, lore tidbits in lieu of, trying to explain the plot to you, but before I do that, I just want to say, genuinely, despite the writing, I really, really enjoyed my time with it. The characters are fun. The combat's really fun. I think it's probably one of the prettier looking games I'll play this year. I think what I was thinking about as I was playing it, in that open world and photorealism, I feel has pushed us towards nature. And Scarlet Nexus has really abstract technological urban environments that are really cool, that make a lot of good use of really sharp shapes like triangles and squares. I posted a ton of screenshots on Twitter, and I took a ton more than that because it's just gorgeous. It's really a gorgeous looking game art direction wise. So I was just putting that out there. And everything, really, honestly, everything about it except for the writing is really, really good. In my opinion.
But Emma, tell us what the combat's like. But seriously though, what I didn't pick up anything from your texts about this game that told me anything about the actual experience of playing the game.
So you play as either Yuito or Kasane. I picked Kasane. She uses knives with her telekinetic powers, so she has mid-range attacks basically,
Psylocke
where she
kind of deal.
Yeah, throws knives at people. So you have your basic attacks. And then you have this thing called SAS, where you connect with your teammates in your brain, and you can, borrow their specific, powers. So,
cool.
Shiden has electrokinesis. or Hanabi has pyrokinesis, or duplication, invisibility, etc. They each have their own unique things, and you tap into that, and you can get abilities where you can tap into more than one at once that creates like really cool different effects, which is basically like just always have electrokinesis on. And so that like affects your combos and the different things you can do. You can go into brain drive when you've fought enough, which is basically just like a heightened state where you can do more things and you're more powerful. And then after you've gone into brain drive, you have the ability to activate a brain field, which basically creates just like this big like zone in which you like can do things.
I
like,
also sometimes feel like when I get into brain drive mode, I can suddenly finally make a brain field where I can do things.
Yeah,
that
and you can even
relatable.
get abilities where you don't even take damage in there. So it's like a win button, but one that you like kind of forget exists until you need it. Was my experience with it. So yeah, it's like a combination of like standard attacks. She has her own psychokinesis attacks, so you like alternate those. You use the SAS, use brain drive and brain field. And genuinely, it's just cool. It's really cool to have different effects with it.
Okay, so now drop all your lore tidbits.
Okay.
Eat the moon, whatever.
Sure. Okay, this one's probably my favorite because it's the weirdest to me. Is you learn this pretty early on, but I didn't like process it until some of like the bonding events when they bring it up more. But so psychic powers are strongest in like people with young bodies, right? Like young physically people. So everyone in this like military group takes anti-aging drugs that slows down their aging process. Okay. So that they can be effective as a soldier for longer. Which I realized when I'd done a bonding event with Kaguro, and he said, like, oh, I probably shouldn't call this a date since you're young enough to be my daughter. I was like, you're like 23. And then I was like,
ooh.
Oh, how old are you? Like, I'm pretty sure Kasane is, like, in her late teens because she's, like, just joined the force. But everyone else has already been there for a while, so it's anyone's guess how old they are. One of the guys who looks like he looks the oldest, Gemma, looks like he's like in his 30s, and he's talking about how he's gonna have to retire, and then he'll start like the aging process, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, during that time because he's been a soldier for so long. Which is, like, interesting, but also, like, wow, that's really weird. And it doesn't really play into anything beyond, like, I guess they wanted to tell, like, different sorts of stories, but also didn't want, like, a lot of, like, old men and late women in your party.
Yeah, it's a very long way around being like, I want all of my characters to look like anime protagonists, but it doesn't make sense for them to be this high up in the army if they're 23.
Yeah. Other ones, several of Kasane's party members, oh, spoilers, by the way, but it's fine. Don't worry. I'm barely scratching the surface of the things they throw at you. Several of Kasane's party members are from Togetsu, which is this place in the, like, far north in the snow. And it turns out that Togetsu is a group of people from the moon. All of humans are from the moon, specifically, but Togetsu wants to go back to the moon by using Kasane and Yuito's time travel powers to reset part of the world, but leave enough so that the people from the moon know not to go to Earth anymore. Also,
sure,
a couple of them are clones. In, like, the effort to, like, capture this time travel power, they, like, made, like, a bunch of, like, they could call them design children. It's very good.
Nobody read the story treatment for this, huh?
I was really, really hoping. One of Kaguro's whole plots is, like, trying to find people to replace his daughter that he left behind on the moon, like, 2,000 years ago. And so I was really hoping that, like, Kazane's design children model would be, like, partially his daughter, because I thought that would be hilarious. But alas, it did not come up. Hopefully in Scarlet Nexus 2, it will.
Scarlet Nexus. We're on the moon now.
We're on the moon now. Let's see. The supercomputer in Togetsu is called Babe.
That I did remember that. That's bizarre.
Oh man, they throw so much at you. It's like, there's also a couple of people in Yuito's party that I did not find out very much about, but they're like, there's this idea of like duds that don't have any psychic powers, and so they can't like interface with the world at all because all of the like electronic screens are like sensed through you having psychic powers. So there's a couple of people in like Yuita's party who used to be duds but have been experimented on to give them like psychic powers. It's like there's all these ideas in it that are like cool and like could sustain a game entirely on their own, and they decide to throw in like 40 of them.
That is the impression that I'm getting.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to Scarlet Nexus 2, Kasane and the girl crew plus Kagero go to the moon.
Do you expect Scarlet Nexus 2? Did it do
They
well?
were really pushing it. I don't know how well it did in sales, but the marketing, they got a lot of VTubers to promote it, is what I noticed on Twitter. Which I guess they're modern, they're hip and modern. But I mean, they were really pushing it, and I would be happy to see it. Like I said, it was tons of fun. Just maybe like get an editor or two, you know.
Well, Cerulean Nexus or Emerald Nexus or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm realizing that I pretty much exclusively, with one notable exception that I'll save for the end because it's a nice bookend, I think, pretty much exclusively played games that were originally podcast games this past 4 weeks? 6 weeks? Four
Very
games?
cool.
6 weeks? Yeah, which makes me feel good because I'm like, oh man, I'm buying all these games for the podcast, but like, I hope I'm actually playing them. And in fact, I did. So, good for me. So this week, listeners, you're not going to believe it because I promised this for like several of these episodes and then didn't do it. But I did finally go back and finish the Pathless.
Wow.
I don't even know when we talked about this on the show.
A while ago.
Anymore.
At least a couple episodes ago.
Endless Dark Winter, I think. We talked about the Pathless, maybe. But I did finally finish it. And that really meant, you know, eagle-eared listeners will remember that I only really played through the first biome, you know, the kind of like the tutorial area, and then the first like plateau when I played the Pathless the first time. So I had like 3/4 of the game left to go. So I played most of the Pathless. You know, it's a short game. I think overall I probably 6 or 7 hours maybe. And a little of that I did a little bit of kind of collectible hunting, although not a lot, just to like raise my flaps a level at the end. But it definitely is not a game that should be longer than that, I think. So if you don't remember, the Pathless is a game where you play as a huntress, basically, and you have to stop this like evil demon guy from assuming godhood and destroying the world with the help of like the mother goddess who is an eagle. And so to do that, you have to like cleanse her spirit children and then defeat the like evil god dude. Well, there were some nice little bits of like lore to it that were sprinkled around about how, you know, seemingly this guy originally had good intentions and thought humanity would be better served if everybody had a path, right, that they were set out on, and that was his goal in achieving evil godhood at first. You know, the big selling point on this game, as we talked about on the show, is the dope movement, which continued to be super fun, where you kind of shoot the targets as you go and zoom around the world. I do have the minor complaint that I feel like running should have been the default. You spend, or at least, you know, if you're me, I spend like 90% of the game holding down the trigger that is the run button, which just feels like claw hand that I didn't need to experience. And like you can change that, right? Like if you want to change that in the areas that are like puzzle areas, that then it goes back to walk being the default, that's fine. But that is my one little mechanical critique. I was like, this doesn't feel like it's adding any, like, just do this the other way. Yeah, overall, you know, the puzzles were suitably simple, which is good, because I did approach this game from the perspective of like, oh man, I really should finally finish this. And I think it would have been frustrating if I had encountered suddenly a lot of like much more difficult puzzles. But it, you know, the gameplay was not that deep. It was fun. That's fine. Gameplay doesn't have to be that deep if you're making it like a 6-hour game. But yeah, it definitely would not have needed to be longer than that. I don't know if I would like recommend it. It's pretty cheap. So if the idea of like a cool mover game, the boss fights they're not like crazy fun or anything, but they break up the monotony of it a little bit, and they were suitably challenging, at least for me. So, you know, assuming the Pathless is still in the like $10 range that it was when I bought it, I'd give it a conditional recommend. It's pretty. A lot of pretty stuff going on. Flying in your eagle is fun to get high. So yeah. Not something that's gonna like stick with me too much. But I was glad to have gone back to finish it. I feel like I enjoyed the latter 3/4 enough that it was worth those extra couple of hours to go back and try it a little more. That said, I do think there's probably a version of this game that's a little bit shorter, where the puzzles are a little bit more interesting, and that probably could have worked too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Pathless.
That's the Pathless. My turn again?
Yes, it is.
All right. The other game I've been playing a good amount of for most of these 6 weeks is Chicory, A Colorful Tale, which I have seen only effusive praise of online.
Yes. Everyone's early Game of the Year contender, I feel like.
Yeah. I'm also really enjoying that. For like 95% of the time, I'm really enjoying it. There have been a couple of sections where something about the angle that everything is at makes it really hard for me to measure like what elevation things are on. So like once you get this jumping ability, there's some like platforming sections, and I will mess those up time and time again because I really cannot tell if I can jump to something or if I'm fruitlessly trying to jump to something. So a lot of times I've had to get up from the couch and come really, really close to the screen and like really look at it to figure out like what I'm supposed to do in that situation, which can be a little bit frustrating. So that's like my one complaint about Chicory at this point. Also, that the boss fights, while like thematically compelling, are like not. I just spam the paint bucket and it ends. So
go back to our boss fight side quest for more.
Yeah. But most of it is kind of like wandering around, talking to people, painting the environments as you go. Each area like has its own like 4-color color palette that you can use in it, which is cool. It like makes each one sort of look different as you go, even though my strategy is mostly just like scribble on the screen a little bit. Is sort of how I approach the coloring. Maybe I'll go back and make like a nice like square at some point, but we'll see. In addition to just painting the environment, there's like an art school you can go to, and they like give you prompts, and then they put those drawings up like around the world. Yeah. But basically what happens in Chicory is you are a little dog bunny something. You're working as a janitor to the current wielder, Chicory. The wielder has like the brush that they use to like fill in all the colors of the world, basically. And that's like their responsibility. Except one day, all the color drains from everywhere. Chicory won't come out of their room, and you end up like picking up the brush to sort of try to figure things out. in Chicory's stead as the new wielder of the brush. So it asks you for your favorite food at the beginning, and I put in fajitas. But it turns out that's the name of your character.
Oh, no.
So it's fajitas. I'm not sure I would have put that in if I really connected why it was asking me what my favorite food was. Everyone in the world is, like, named after foods, basically.
You know what? I appreciate that, though, as someone who... I mean, whatever. We're gonna get to me playing Skyrim in a little bit, right? But, like, Sweetheart McBabe II, maybe I need a prompt. Champ McDude? Like, a prompt might be good.
That's true. This is the game for you. You just have to put in your favorite food. I shouldn't have told you.
Now you know. It for me. Yeah. Now I have to think about, like, what food would be a good name.
Yeah. But anyway,
I think about that for dogs all the time. So
if you want a cool time, like a cool chillaxing time with some platforming sections where you might just want to pull up a video and watch what the other person does so that you can figure it out, which I have done more than a few times now, then Chicory is for you.
So let's sprinkle in my Skyrim now, since I just mentioned it.
Sure.
Haven't played quite as much of it these past 6 weeks. I've been focused on playing other games. And also Click Boyfriend was away for part of it. And he likes watching me play so much, and I felt kind of bad playing too much while he was away. But been playing a little more Skyrim. Actually advanced some of the main story, which I think is new since last time. So maybe by next 6 weeks we'll be, like, closer to the end, or whatever going on. Officially joined the Stormcloaks, which I learned that Click Boyfriend apparently always played allied with the Empire, which feels like a red flag to me.
It does feel like a red flag.
Yeah.
Allying with the Empire? When did we talk about how empires are always bad?
Yeah.
Sometime recently, right?
Yeah, it was. And I was like, the Roman Empire is fine. You know, embarrassing hot take for me. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, you know, the Stormcloaks do bad things too. And I was like, okay, interesting.
I see.
Okay, good to know. But, you know, everybody in Skyrim's a racist, so there's really no good side to be on. I'm surprised the Stormcloaks let me join, given that I am an elf. And everyone in their city is like, my dad tells me that elves are terrible. People like you are why this city is terrible now.
Oh no.
But yeah, we just ousted my buddy, the Jarl of Whiterun. Which I'm like, man, I'm the Thane of Whiterun. Like, why didn't he just listen to me when I said, we're gonna invade, just join our side? Anyway, Skyrim continues to remind me of the, like, most, of an underrated part of game design that I feel like does not do in a way that I like, which is calibrating your autosave system. Please autosave more often than Skyrim does. I have to quick save this game so often because you can lose so much progress. Like, it just feels like fast traveling should by default be an autosave, and it's not. And I have just... There is nothing that kills a game session for me more than losing, like, 20 minutes of progress to me being like, okay, I'm done for the day. But, you know, we're having a grand old time in Skyrim. Thieves Guild stuff's getting crazy. I'm the head of the Companions, like, Warriors Guild now. Basically taking over the entire country.
Good.
And not getting absolutely murdered by dragons quite as often.
Good for McBabe.
Yeah. McBabe II.
Yeah.
Is doing great.
Good.
I can't remember if... maybe not the last time. Maybe I just sent you the picture that I had to do an infiltration mission where, like, one of my... Like, they asked me for my name, and one of the options was just to be, I am Sweetheart McBabe II, which I think probably should have been just an auto fail.
Yeah.
Like, actually, you get... Like, if you say that, it kicks you back at the beginning of the game. Like, fade in. Like, you're in the wagon. Again. Like, it's like, you could not possibly have said that. This was all a dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, still enjoying it. It's a nice, you gotta have a filler game. And I'm enjoying Skyrim more than that term implies. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to have a game that you can just, like, pick up and, you don't have to feel emotions about it. You can just check a few things off the list.
Fair.
So yeah, it's more from the adventures of Sweetheart McBabe II next time.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, you betcha.
Alright. My next game, I've been playing Dark Deity, which is an indie game that popped up on my radar a little while ago, and I think it released during E3, and I picked it up on Steam. It's indie Fire Emblem. And it's basically all that phrase implies, in that it feels like Fire Emblem, it looks like Fire Emblem, it's got a couple of new interesting twists to the way that combat works, and it's got, like, none of the quality of life of, a Nintendo-made product. So I'm enjoying, I'm having fun with it. It feels good. It feels like Fire Emblem. I like Fire Emblem. Can't get enough Fire Emblem. Mostly just makes me want more real Fire Emblem. If I'm being honest. Please put the Ike games on Switch.
I guess it's only been 2 years since the last one came out, right? It feels like I was like, surely we're due for one soon. But I guess it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, it feels like we're due for an announcement soon, but
yeah.
Not necessarily a game soon. But Nintendo's been getting better about, like, announcing things, like, within the year that they're coming out. Well, minus, like...
With a notable exception.
Yeah,
but okay.
With the one noticeable exception. But anyway, Dark Deity is, like, your protagonist is Irving, a red-haired young man. He and his classmates from, like, the military academy have all been called to early graduation due to the war going on. But when he goes to, like, answer the call of reinforcements, he's waylaid by mysterious magical circumstances and the undead, and ends up, like, sort of veering off from the army in order to, go on a world-saving-y quest. So, very classic Fire Emblem stuff, basically. It's got supports, it's got some voice acting. The interesting twist in the combat is, like, they have, like, 4 different types of weapons they can use. They never break, but you can, like, upgrade them using, like, tokens that you get from combat. And each one has, like, its own specialization. So, like, one's really powerful, but really heavy. One's, like, well-balanced. One's, like, really light, so really fast, but doesn't hit as hard. And one's, like, really big critical chance, basically. And so you can upgrade those as you want to make different characters, like, specialize in different types of weapons. Or you can, like, spread it out to make them more able to react to a variety of situations. Also, instead of a permadeath system, if one of your characters fall in battle, instead there's one of their stats is randomly selected and is decreased by a pretty significant amount.
Interesting.
So there's, like, punishment for letting them fall, but not necessarily, like, you don't have to reset. Like, if someone falls, like if your like, knight character gets taken out and they lose some speed, you might be like, well, they're really slow anyway. So
yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily have to reset the whole map to deal with that. So it's adding some sort of trade-off instead of just being, like, in the old ones when you were like, oh, well, Innes died again, better start over. I always go back to that one Sacred Stones map as the example. It haunts me.
It's haunting.
But if you're craving some Fire Emblem and you're in, Fire Emblem drought, it's just on PC right now, so you can pick it up on Steam. And it's pretty fun.
Did you watch the Fire Emblem speedrun? I didn't find it that grabbing.
I did not.
It's a battle. It's a race. Which is kind of wild.
Oh, like 2 people doing it?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. I tend to see, like, the strategy is just, like, warp someone really far and then, like, one hit the boss somehow.
Well, it was interesting. We did watch them up to the first, like, monster fight. Which, yeah, both the runners did just as, like, one person's gonna take it down. Also, you'll appreciate this, to make things faster, they kill off all the kids as soon as possible, with the exception of, like, 2 of them.
Yeah, I know that too. Yeah. It feels like they could just, like, take them out. Maybe they reset them to, like, having...
It's about the lessons, though. It saves you a bunch of time with the lessons if everyone is dead.
I see. I understand, I think.
Yeah. I might not be quite explaining that right, but I think it has more to do with saving time in the world portions than necessarily it being bad to have some people not come to battle.
Does feel like your character should get fired if all but 2 of the kids die. But, you know, that's fine.
One of the runners had to wait, like, an extra turn the first battle, because, like, one of the kids didn't die. It was like, come on, die already. Anyway. The Kingdom Hearts 2 speedrun was good, though. I recommend that.
Okay.
Because, you know. Anyway, I'll get back to my games, but the Kingdom Hearts commentary at GDQ is always really a sport in itself. Anyway, on an entirely different topic, another podcast game that I played like 90% of and finished in these past 6 weeks is Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. I think I had really just started this one the last time I think this one was in the previous 6 weeks to this that we did the episode. If you don't remember, in Sakuna you play as the daughter of a war god and a harvest goddess, who's super lazy and causes an accident involving some humans in the land of the gods and gets banished to, like, Demon Island to do some farming and clear out the demons on behalf of the kind of, like, lead goddess. And then you do hyper-realistic rice farming and side-scrolling combat. I don't know what it is about games with, like, a 15 to 25 minute, like, day gameplay loop, but they really have it figured out for me. Something about that loop really does get me into, like, I can play just one more. Like, Stardew Valley was that way, this is that way. It's like, yeah, just, like, one more day. Because you always have something you want to do the next day. I can't remember if I mentioned this in just a conversation to you or on the show, but whatever. At some point, Emma, when I was talking to you, either in front of a microphone or not, I think I mentioned that, so we talked in the show about the rice mechanic being really, like, true to life and really well researched and really deep. Mm-hmm. And while I think that is absolutely true, I think you could get very into perfect rice farming if you wanted to in this game. It definitely, if that is something that you, like, listen to us talk about that game and you were like, that sounds interesting, but I don't want to read rice manuals from, like, the Japanese Department of Agriculture to play a video game, rest assured that, well, I certainly tried to be a good rice farmer. Like, I didn't just, like, throw seeds everywhere and do it at random, and, like, I did read the in-game manuals. I didn't feel like I was doing an especially great job at it, and it's still, like, while beating the game was a little challenging at the end, because it's a final boss, there's a nice little boss rush at the end, it, like, I didn't feel like I went out of my way to be super powered or to be great at rice or whatever, and it was fine. So while you certainly could get really into it, it's definitely not as necessary as I thought it might be when I was just talking about it and hadn't played too much of the game yet on the podcast.
It's for the speedrunner community, really get into the rice.
Yeah, I guess so. I would be interested. Actually, I would be interested to watch a Sakuna speedrun. That'd be kind of weird. Yeah, it's like I was like, I never really quite figured out how to really maximize, like, one of the rice qualities for growth. But that was fine. I just farmed enough that I got strong.
Well, I imagine they don't want to entirely, like, block your progress if you just can't get a handle on rice, you know? So.
You also learn a lot of really helpful skills as you go. Like, at first, you could only plant one rice seed at once, and by the end, I think I plant like 16 in a perfect square in each planting. So that helped, and, having everything be able to go faster helped.
Unfortunately, if you are actually farming rice, usually you don't get, convenient power-ups to help you plant rice in perfect squares.
Usually.
You
could be the exception. Are you half harvest goddess? If so, you might develop those skills if you inherit your mom's farm on a magical island.
Few.
Overall, I found the story of this game, it's no Scarlet Nexus, let's say that. It was fine. There was nothing objectionable about it, but, I found the combat portions to be fun and challenging enough, and the rice to be kind of, like, satisfying in its own cyclical way. I didn't really necessarily find the overarching story of, like, bratty little Sakuna grows up with the help of some humans to be especially, like, it's not super memorable. But the game overall was still really fun. I also never really quite mastered, so when you fight, right, you have a weapon, but you also have your radiant raiment, which is like a magic scarf thing that you throw around. I was really good at my like combat skills by the end. I was very bad at using the raiment in combat or in using it any kind of like. It would take me a long time to get the right thing to climb over an object sometimes, which is fine. But I was like, oh, okay, like there's probably an even more refined way you could have played this, and I just am bad at angles.
Sure.
But again, like definitely a game that I would recommend. I spent a lot more time playing it than I thought I would because I kind of would get sucked in. You do definitely, eventually it's like you need to know when to cut off a play session because it does get a little repetitive and that sort of thing. But like many of the games I like, it has nice little checkboxes for your objectives in each area, which we love a good, clear objective system. And there are cute kappas and cute dogs and a baby who in the end is maybe a god. So
I believe it. You did send that baby off on foraging missions. A lot for him being a baby.
That's how he brings back, that's how we end up with like 8 dogs and 6 cats at the end of the game, is he keeps bringing back dogs and cats.
That's what babies do.
And manure.
Good.
Nothing like some manure.
From the brief time I watched Madelyn, I think she only sent out the baby on scouting missions.
Well, at the time that I was playing that you were around, I was really low on fertilizer materials.
So, gotta get the baby to get the poop, I understand.
Well, the baby specializes in fertilizer. What am I supposed to do?
It's just so funny.
So yeah, Sakuna, another recommend. Not a perfect game, but for a game coming from a small team, particularly, it's really impressive for what it is, and fun. So, I'd recommend it. What's up next on your playlist?
I'll do my little grab bag now. I think Umaragi Generation was this 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, and I have that to talk about too, so we can co-op this one.
Well, I'll just do my grab bag and then you can transition into it, because I was going to say I didn't play any more of it since the episode that we did. I want to, but there's just a lot of games right now. But I'm planning to go back through it because I did really enjoy the main levels that I played before our episode on it. I also haven't played any more Kentucky Route Zero. I just have Act 4, 2 interludes, and Act 5 to go. So we're getting there with that, but just a matter of doing it on a weekend or something.
Emma, this is a game log, not a confession. So
I just want to mark it so that, you know, as anyone who listened to last time was like, she just got to, like, stuff she hadn't done yet. What's up with Kentucky Route Zero? I haven't played anymore. I'm gonna get to it. I've been playing some more Hades a little bit. I haven't made much significant progress on that. I've been giving the Olympians more nectar. Whatever Hypnos's lock seems to be progressing because I'm getting ! Dialogue with him again. I don't know what that is, but hopefully that'll happen. And Nyx and Chaos's plotline also seems to be progressing a little bit. And I think I maxed out Eurydice's hearts now, so that's done. I still have, like, over 30 ambrosia because there's so many people sitting around with locks. I'm sticking, like, literally everything in the lounge for Dusa now also, so hopefully that will move forward at some point as well. Meanwhile, Achilles and Patroclus refuse to do anything ever. Their story will just not progress, and I don't know why, but check back in 6 weeks and see if it has.
I'm sort of wondering if I can't quite remember because, I mean, not to spoil, but, like, Josh did manage to advance their story. Maybe it's locked behind you have to finish Eurydice first. I don't know. That doesn't really make any sense, but I feel like it has to be something like that.
I mean, you know, there's other stuff going on, so I can wait, but I just wish that Patroclus would say anything to me again, beyond, like, hello, here's some stuff. I also, having played Dark Deity and being like, man, I wish I had more Fire Emblem, I picked up Fire Emblem Three Houses again to go back to my Silver Snow playthrough. And I've gotten to the final chapter of Silver Snow, which means once that's done, I will have completed all storylines of Fire Emblem Three Houses. However, it is a merciless classic playthrough, and I have gotten this far without anyone dying. So I cannot let them die on this final chapter. And oh boy, it hard. Oh boy, it difficult.
Just use the Gatekeeper summon. It's fine.
There are all these Pegasus Knights in Merciless. The enemy ones are just harbingers of death. Like, they will just murder you. Because even your fastest unit, they can somehow double, and they will do, like, 30 damage each one. And they have good accuracy. So, it's a matter of, like, having to lure them out, have Caspar use Impregnable Wall so that everybody's doing 1 damage, and then, like, murdering them on the next turn. But then there's also all these monsters all around, and all these other units charging at them. So it's a real balancing act. I got the boss down to its very last health bar on my last attempt, and then I ran out of rewinds, and I didn't look out on the critical chance I was taking. And had to start again. Really feels like old school Fire Emblem now, you know?
Yeah. Listeners, if you weren't with us back in 2019, it's a nice little blast from the past.
So, we'll see if I manage to finish it by next 6 weeks' time, and then I can finally say I have done the Fire Emblem Three Houses experience, and Nintendo can finally announce a new one or bring any of the old ones, really any of the old ones, to Switch. I would love to see on there. It'd be very cool if they would bring the old ones to Switch and also add, like, the rewind and the casual mode to it to make them more accessible. I think that would be really cool.
Well, Nintendo, Emma has spoken.
Just my suggestion.
And she will buy the, like, $200 bundle, so, you know.
I will.
She, unlike me, is in the key 18 to 25-year-old demographic.
Anywhere from, like, Fire Emblem 6 onward, if you want to bring those to Switch, I will do it. I will buy them. You'll get me. Even if it's a timed release, which I fundamentally hate, you will still get me.
Well, there you have it.
It's your turn now.
Okay, so Umurangi Generation. So you've also played through all the main levels and not really the DLC?
Yep.
Cool. Because, yeah, that's basically what I played. I played the 8 main levels. Apparently last time I had played through all the ones that, like right before the, like, really the big reveal level confirmed. And I also played, I guess, the very first one from the DLC. Because I just kind of clicked onward to it by mistake. It's a good game. I enjoyed the experience. It's not a game that I feel like I'm going to be going back to Platinum. I see some of the replay value of this game, but and again, if you didn't listen to that podcast, I mean, 1, go back and listen to it. Mm-hmm. But 2, you're a photographer in a post-apocalyptic or a really mid-apocalyptic New Zealand, basically. And yeah, to me, the difficulty curve from get all the photos to get all the film and all the photos and, like, the bonus stuff and do it all in 10 minutes is, like, maybe too high. Especially in, like, the big levels. I'm just not... Finding the film is not an interesting challenge for me.
Apparently you do unlock more, like, mobility equipment if you start doing those, however, which would possibly make later levels easier as well.
Well, I unlocked the rollerblades or whatever for doing the first DLC, which I haven't tested out yet. You know, it's mostly about, like, I understand the appeal of, like, really going in and planning your route and that being a fun game experience for some people. I'm just recognizing, for me, I don't know that I'll super enjoy that.
Sure.
So in some ways it's like, man, I sort of wish they didn't even offer you that option the first time through. Because I do always feel like a bit of a failure that I haven't gotten them in 10 minutes. Like, dang it. I missed my deadline again. Bad Uber Eats driver here.
A lot of the levels I would be at like 9 minutes 30 seconds being like, where do I turn this in? Where's the
that too
marker?
That feels like there should be a pointer. Like, that I will register that complaint. Like, that's not fair. It's at a random place. Come on. I'm trying to think of, like, do you have a favorite level?
I mean, I like the last one. I like the city one too, with where people are dancing.
Yeah, the breakdancing one is one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah. The train station was the easiest level.
I think telephoto lens should go and die. That's another hot take from me. Every time I had a telephoto assignment, or, you know what, it's fine if it's telephoto and it's, like, one thing. I'm like, that's okay, I can get a telephoto of one thing. But, like, 10 solar panels, or that level was, like, 5 American flags, I was like, F this.
Oh, not the actual train, the like, metro station level. The train level took me a really long time.
Okay, fair, yeah.
If you know which ones I'm talking about there.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Because I think it was the actual train that went into 5 American flags.
It was.
Which I think I just gave up and got, like, a blue bottle in. Because I couldn't even see what it was.
Who cares about the blue bottles? Telephoto, if I can even squeeze it in, it's a win.
Uh-huh.
I also spent forever on that level looking for the flashing red light. And missed my quick twitch picture of it, like, 4 times in a row. So I'm a bad photographer. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you know, obviously this is, like, the point, but, like, I refuse to make my photos look good. I always edit them to just be like, I loved taking the picture of Jimmy Carter on the wall in that train one, and, like, just making him glow. I was like, good. Nice.
Okay.
I feel like that level should change. Well, I mean, I don't, right? Like, the American message still rings true no matter what language you're in, but I feel like that level should change based on what language you play in. To, like, just like, what's the imperialist power in your region?
That's what, instead of where are you from, we should be like, what imperial power dominates your region?
It's a good icebreaker, I think. Yeah, I mean, Umurangi has really fun world building.
Yeah.
I mean, like, duh, kind of, right? But it's trying to do something where it could very easily fall on the wrong side of kind of, like, weirdly heavy-handed. And I think because it's not really trying to tell too much of a story. I mean, obviously there's a story, right? But because it's not trying to sustain too much of a narrative, I feel like it works a little better than if they were trying to tell, like, a story. Although I do wish I knew more about my friends.
And the penguin, specifically?
I mean, yes. But also my friend who is a breakdancer and my friend with the Union Jack and the other friend.
Fair.
And I would like a level where they follow you around like party members, just so we can get more variety in shots. Just while I'm wishlisting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, can I talk spoilers sort of now?
For Umurangi Generation?
I just want to talk about the very last bonus level.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So there's a very last bonus level at the end.
Of the main game.
Of the main game.
Yeah.
If this is something that you would rather see on your own, fast forward like 5 minutes. What was that? What was that level supposed to be?
The bird at the end is like a Maui bird, I think. And when I was looking at it in Wikipedia for the episode we did, it was, I can't remember what it's called now. You could look it up while I'm talking or something. I don't know. There was supposed to be incorporated, the original idea was to incorporate this bird more throughout the whole game, but that ended up sort of getting removed, and there would just be like a lot of feather imagery in like the graffiti and stuff instead. But I mean, basically it's just like the end of the world, right? That's the last bonus level.
It's the Huia? Huia? An extinct bird.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I just... Like, it was cool... I don't know. I guess I just didn't know, like, what I was walking into in that level. Like, it was cool to have the camera taken away at the beginning of it. It's like where you're just walking. And then you only get to take one picture. Or maybe I just took the exact right picture. I don't know. Maybe I just did it
I think it's just one picture. You're supposed to take the
Let's
picture.
Let's just pretend I just got the exact picture.
Sure.
That you have to get to win.
Uh-huh. I mean, I just think it's like, it's the end of the world, and still all you can do is take a picture of it, right?
Why didn't I suddenly get a combat level there? Why wasn't there a boss fight, Emma?
Oh, gee, I don't know.
Could have ended with a climactic boss rush. Where I punched the UN and the blue bottles. No, it was cool. It was neat. It was just like, wow, like, this level is not really going to explain itself to me.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But it did leave me being like, what happened? And, I mean, I was proud of my last photo. I thought it was a nice photo that I took. It was not of the bird. I took it of the spirits. I tried to do, like, a full lean where I could get them both in it, but I couldn't, so that was a bummer.
Is it just you just take one last photo? I thought you would have to be of the bird, because that's
it was
just
not
where
of the
it naturally
bird.
goes.
The bird was not in my photo even a little. It was just of the spirits. So I'm glad we had different ideas about what that final moment should be. Anyway, I would recommend it. If you're going to play it docked, unless you're better at motion controls than me, turn off the motion controls. But I'm bad at motion controls. Maybe they're cool. I just kept accidentally tilting my camera to like 30 degrees.
Yeah, I do weird stuff with the Joy-Cons when I just am holding them, so.
Did not make me want to become a photographer, though. I was like, this is hard. Is it time?
Well, before it's really time, I have played a little bit of Great Ace Attorney. as well. I pre-ordered it, but it went on a little excursion to Dartmouth before coming back to get delivered to me.
I'm telling you, someone just took it home to play it for a day. They're like, say it's in Dartmouth.
Probably. So I played a few hours of it. I'm still in the first case. It's a pretty long first case as far as Ace Attorney games go. And I think I'm heading into the final section of the first case now. But it has to establish a lot of things, because I imagine some of the setting is slightly unfamiliar even to a Japanese audience. So it's like setting up the time period, and like specific political relations that were happening during this time period, and what the court and police systems were like during this time period, which I imagine it's going to have to do all again, because the first case is in Japan, and I know that they go to Great Britain. So, I mean, it's wacky Great Britain court, because like the jurors have like fire that they like throw into scales from what I've seen from the trailers. So, but still, it has some historical basis in the way it's working, as well as introducing you to all like the basic mechanics of doing the courtroom stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun. Ryunosuke is the animations for him, your main character, are just so great. Like, he is defending himself in this first trial, and he doesn't know what he's doing at all. So his like default posture is like standing really straight with his eyes like darting everywhere in the courtroom while he talks. It's very good. He also, when he goes to do like the classic like desk slam, most of the time he does it, it's just like this really pathetic like on the desk, and then he looks at his hands really fast, like, what? And then he goes on. When everyone else can do like their decisive, like, like booms, he's just got a little eh. He's learning how to do it over the course of this trial, which I think is also really good. So I look forward to reporting more on that next time on this, because I think it'll be really fun. I've only heard great things about these two games, so. Do you have another one, or is it just me now? Is it just Emma time?
I do have another game.
Then you should go. Yeah.
Here's Madelyn's confessional hour. Guess what, folks? No Yakuza this 6 weeks.
Wow.
Turn off the podcast now.
Head out.
I did buy Emma a Yakuza. I'm like tithing to Sega still. Tithing to RGG.
Yes. Kiwami 2 will hit the list probably after Judgment 2.
Also, currently downloading on my PlayStation 3, Yakuza Dead Souls.
Very good.
The download times on the PlayStation 3 are ungodly. I hope that by the end of the night it will be finished.
Hopefully.
Because I had to dust off the old PS3, because it's that time of the year, or every 18 months or so again. That's right. Talk This NYC HQ's semi-annual Katamari obsession a couple of weeks. Coming back here live on the podcast.
Very good.
I am genuinely convinced that Katamari is maybe the best video game of all time.
It's good.
And I just want to put out there into the world, like, what blood price do I have to pay for a new game? Or I'll even take a remaster of a game that isn't the first one. Because the first one is the only one that I have in its entirety, because we have it on the PS3. We played a little bit of that. We've mostly been playing Katamari Forever, which is the kind of the anthology collection of a lot of the ones that came out in the aughts for PS3. So we've been playing a lot of that. But what do I have to do for a We Love Katamari reroll? Or just a new one? Don't make another Wadum. Wadum was fine. But once you've made a Katamari, just give me more levels. Please.
Poor man.
Josh and I have been talking a lot about how fun it would be, like, could you put Katamari into, like, Spider-Man's New York? And, like, a hyper-realistic roll-up New York
That would be deeply disturbing. I think that would have a very different tone, to be honest.
you're not wrong, but I just want Katamari aesthetics, but like in my neighborhood. Anyway, we've been playing a lot of it. We've also been singing the soundtrack nonstop. Even if you argue with me that Katamari is not the greatest video game of all time, which we can fight about that, but like what matches it for the sheer catharsis of rolling and getting bigger. But it certainly has an all-time great video game soundtrack. Also, Wikipedia backs me up, and I think it gets listed as one of the greatest games of all time, by the way. So I'm right. You're wrong if you're saying it's not good.
I didn't say it's not good.
I know you didn't say that. But, yeah, I just want to, like, be like, yeah, Lonely Rolling Star, instant classic. Katamari on the Swing, evidently sung by someone who sings some anime themes that we've liked, too, in the remix version. So, that's funny. Mm-hmm. Who sings one of the Haikyuu themes.
Wow.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Whatever the Single Star in the Sky one. All these songs have been stuck in my head nonstop because they are so catchy.
They are really catchy.
And so good. Anyway, yeah, really enjoying it. It's always nice to dust off Katamari. If you don't own Reroll, well, I mean, if you own a PS3, you should really buy the collection, I think. Because while the first game is great, I think the subsequent games that have more and more creative Katamari challenges are, not to say better, but are a good variety. So if you have a PS3 and you can acquire Katamari Forever, I would recommend that. But yeah, I'm over here waiting. I just feel like I deserve a new one. It's just maybe so good. It feels like it shouldn't be that hard to make a new one, even though I know that it would be. Yeah. But it feels like it shouldn't be that hard, and I feel like the people should demand it.
Maybe one day.
Also, last thing, and then I'll throw it over to your big main event thing. Do you know what Katamari Damacy means? Did you realize that it has a meaning?
What does it mean?
Katamari is the Japanese word for clump, and Damacy is a version of Tamasi, which means spirit. So Katamari Damacy is clump spirit.
I guess spirit clump. Clump of spirit, yes. I guess, probably.
Yes.
Correct?
Agreed.
Accurate.
Absolutely. And some days don't we all feel like a clump spirit. Okay, Emma, take it away. Oh, but anyway, that was my bookend because it's also a Namco game and it's about the moon. So there you go.
There you go.
You also go back to the moon at the end of the original. So.
All right, folks, we're over an hour into this podcast, so if you don't care
strap in for 3 more hours.
If you don't care about Neo, The World Ends With You, you should probably peace out now, because that's
subscribe to the show, check out the website.
Exactly. Madelyn could just give her spiel now.
The game's back next week. We're back next week. We talk about some games. Okay, here you go, Emma.
Neo, The World Ends With You, sequel to The World Ends With You, that came out in...
Okay, no spoilers.
I won't. Anything I'll talk about like the first few days probably, but that's fine. I won't spoil anything. There have been a few events that have made me laugh and clap with glee, and I wouldn't want to ruin that for anybody else. But it's the sequel to The World Ends With You. Came out in 2007. If I was in a job interview and they asked me like what my favorite game was, I would probably say The World Ends With You because I can elucidate it, explain it, I guess.
That's a good answer, though, because, like, it's niche enough.
Yeah.
You know? It's not like, The Last of Us.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, I don't know if that's, like, truly my favorite game, because I don't really have one, but I feel like I can explain what I like about it the most intelligently for, like, a job interview or something. So, I'm a big fan of the original game, and was very excited about this sequel, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. Because it's not on the DS anymore, they've had to, like, rethink the sort of control schemes, but I think they've come up with a good way of, like, maintaining the idea of the original while making it more I guess, accessible. I don't know. My hands still hurt after playing it, so how accessible it is.
I mean, do you want to log how many hours of this you've played already now, or no?
I don't know. It doesn't say on the save screen, so I honestly couldn't tell you how long I've played it.
But, like, you're just saying that because you're embarrassed, right? Like, surely
I'm not.
You can give us an estimate.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm not sure. But basically, each party member, because it's not partners anymore, it's teams. So each party member gets a pin assigned, and each pin is a button. And then you control them with each of those buttons that have, like, different inputs and effects. And then you combo those up to do beat drops that increase your groove. And when you get full groove, you can do, like, a big special attack. It's very good. The developers have said, like, you can start with this game. I think you can, although it will certainly spoil parts of the first game for you if you care about that. But it does a good enough job, like, explaining itself in things. Except, I got to this point in the demo, and I was thinking about, like, people playing this for the first time. And, like, 45 minutes in, you meet Sho Minamoto, who speaks only in math or trash puns and has a megaphone that he uses. And I just think, like, what is the impression you get here? Because at least the original game, like, worked up to Minamoto, you know?
Like, I get it, but he is still just like that in the game. And while you can say it worked up, it's not like there's really anyone else could really prepare you for that.
I guess, but, like, you get, like, glimpses of him in the first week. The first Game Master is all about, like, food puns, so they, like, get you understanding that, like, the Game Masters have, like, gimmicks, you know? And then when you get to Sho, you're like, this is a lot, but at least I've had a warm-up into this. You're
discriminating against STEM.
I can't imagine getting full factorization at, like, 45 minutes into the game without knowing who this man is. I mean, it's definitely a strong impression.
How anxious do you think the people that wrote that dialogue are that there's, like, a typo in the math?
I don't think it would necessarily matter. I don't know if he's really good at math or just knows a lot of math facts, you know?
Damn, that's the lore answers we really need.
He feels like someone who just, like, knows a lot of factoids about math versus, like, being good at math. But yeah, it's pretty delightful and pretty weird. If you go into it having played the first game, there are definitely some, like, points of differences between, and not just the partner versus team thing, but points of differences between the game that is being played in Neo and the game in the original that stand out as very weird. So, like, for example, like, you start out the game as Rindo, and you're just going about your business in Shibuya, hanging out with your friend, and then suddenly the game starts. And there's no significant event that connects those two things, if you've played the first game, I guess.
That we've gotten to see. I don't know, the first game kind of drip-fed you that information, too, so...
Yeah, true, I guess. I really like the new characters. I really like the new combat. All the new music is great. It looks really great. The art is really... The sprite work is really, really great. Like, some of the facial expressions, they're not afraid to make them look, like, kind of silly or stupid, I think. Which really, like, adds to, like, the dialogue and, like, the experience of the game, I think. Like, the sprites in the original were good, too, but there are definitely a lot more per character in this one that makes, like, the dialogue feel, like, I guess, more alive as it's going it. And I really like the way they've transitioned the art style into 3D. It has, like, fixed camera angles so that they can make it look the way they want, and the buildings sort of, like, curve in towards you as dope. You go. So it's, like, sort of like a fisheye lens effect as you walk around. And later on, my favorite part of it so far, it's not actually my favorite part, but I appreciate it greatly, is a little later on to the game, you get the ability to sound surf, they call it, which is basically when you're out on the field if you press the circle button to the beat of the music, they'll like go like do like flips and go faster through the different streets instead of just running. So you just like sort of press the circle button as you move around to the beat of the music. And it fills your groove bar a little bit too for the next battle, so it's useful also. But it's very satisfying. A useful
dodge roll. We love that.
It knows I'm just sitting there bopping anyway, so they're like, might as well, have the beat be useful in some sense, which I think is smart. I think my biggest complaint is they've changed if you remember that there was the bravery stat in the original, which basically was like you can only wear clothes if you have enough bravery. And usually the way they did it was like girls' clothes or particularly out there clothes would be really high bravery. So like you could get all of your characters to wear those clothes eventually. They just have to be brave enough to do it. And I thought that was like an interesting way of portraying that. In this, you have a style stat. And you can wear any clothes that you get. It's just a matter of if you don't have enough style, you won't get the ability attached to it. So it's sort of like, are you wearing it, or is it wearing you? I guess. But it doesn't feel like the style necessarily correlates to like the design of the clothes. Like with like I had Rindo in like a fluffy sweater and a mini skirt with the abilities activated within like the first, which like fine, sure, it's a great outfit, but somehow I feel like Rindo would not willingly wear the
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that system is implemented as well, but I have given them some quality outfits. Does not actually change anything on the character, I should put out there, just like the original game. But you can imagine it as you equip it, and you can create some really horrifying monstrosities if you really want to. I have a clown wig and a Santa suit. I've not put them on anyone yet, but I'm hoping to do full novelty outfit at some point for someone. I can't talk about spoilers.
Check back in 6 weeks for probably a more spoilery version of this. Okay, but here's what you can do. Blink once if you've spotted Yozora as a player yet.
No.
Blink
Someone
twice.
Someone
Blink twice if you think that Luke Sword is going to be the game master, the like overall game master.
I've already met the game master.
Yeah, okay, sure. She's also blinking like crazy, people. You can't see it.
This isn't a spoiler because it happens in the first 5 minutes, but they show someone's legs in, like, the first 5 minutes, and I was like, Joshua! The designs are so good in The World Ends With You that they can show me legs from the knee down, and I can go, Joshua? What are you doing, Joshua?
I'm not sure I could recognize my Joshua's legs from the knee down in a picture.
Exactly. What was I going to say before you interrupted me? I have no idea.
Luke Sword.
Oh, I was going to say, someone did make a fake Sora model and pretended they had data mined, The World Ends With You, and had found that model in there. And then was like, JK, I didn't realize it would spread so far. I was like, you really underestimate Kingdom Hearts fans.
I wish Nomura had done that.
It is supposed to come to PC, so it'll be fun. That person made the Sora model. That could be a fun mod for somebody to make,
Dangerous mod.
Dangerous mod. I'm pretty far in now. Well, I'm pretty far in, and yet somehow still at 36% completion. So I assume that's like everything in the game and not story progress, because that wouldn't make sense. Hopefully.
I guess we'll find out.
Is there a possibility that we will time travel back to the first day and do all the weeks over again? Possibly. That's also not a spoiler, because Rindo time travels in like the first hour. None of these things are spoilers, okay? Also, if you watch the final trailer and we're like, oh man, they're showing off too much, there's so many spoilers. No. There's not very many spoilers in that.
It
Just
hurts
throwing
me
that
that
out there.
there's time travel, and the game that these characters appeared in Kingdom Hearts is also really about time travel. That we're in dangerous waters here, Emma.
They're also Fret's ability is called Remind, and Nagi's ability is called Dive, so that's also hilarious to me.
Who allowed this? I realize that Tetsuya doesn't like have a boss, probably, but like, who allowed this?
To be fair, that's what they are. Fret reminds people of things they've forgotten, and Nagi dives into people's heads to deal with the noise infections.
Oh boy. I don't want to think about how... Okay, whatever. I'm not going to turn this into Kingdom Hearts conspiracy theories, but...
It's not. It's really not. It's not connected to Kingdom Hearts at all. They've stated this really clearly. It's pretty clearly not related from
I know,
the large
but as
amount that
you
I've
yourself
played.
have said on the podcast before, just because this game isn't related to Kingdom Hearts doesn't mean that Kingdom Hearts isn't going to pick up this game.
That's fair. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw these characters in the next Kingdom Hearts in a similar capacity to the World Ends With You characters in Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah, all I mean to suggest is that our boy Nomura is sowing dangerous seeds in classic Nomura fashion. Where he's like, we're just gonna leave this here. Maybe I'll pick it up later. Maybe I won't.
Oh, last thing. If you've only played it on the DS, the original version, they do make reference to the new scenario in the Switch version that was added, the A New Day stuff. So if you want to fully understand what's happening and what people are talking about, you should probably look that up or play it yourself. I think it's fine. They explain the concept well enough without you having to play it. It's just a little bit like, I don't remember that happening. But yeah. It's like, if you go into the new game fresh, it's like a similar amount of confusion to whenever they reference anything from the old game. You know?
That's on my agenda for the next 2 weeks or so, is that we're going to go back and play that. Because I'm not sure we ever played all of it. The new scenario or not.
The final boss has a dope theme song, which is good, because I think it took me like 20 minutes.
Will I be excited to have pulled that gacha, which is the rainbow girl from that?
She's got an outfit upgrade. So.
Well, that's good, I guess.
Anyway, I'll look forward to reporting back probably with massive spoilers in the next 6 weeks. Because I cannot stop playing it, despite my aching hands.
Well, on that note, that groovy note, folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
If you liked what you listened to, you should follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. You can also check out our website, www.talkthispodcast.com, where you can read all about the show, check out the games that are in the hat, and check out our blog featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend and Split Screen. Finally, and most importantly, you should subscribe to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Talk This. Next week, it's a main edition of the show, which means we're talking about an old game and a new game. Those games have titles.
Ape Escape and Metopia.
Right. Oh, that's going to be funny.
Yes.
So don't miss that one. And then in 2 weeks will be my turn to do a side quest, which I have not even begun to conceptualize. That's not true. I had one that I thought of the last time, and then we were like, America! But I've forgotten what it is, so I will have to check my texts.
Yes.
So get excited for that, everybody.
Heck yeah.
Me checking my text messages.
Very excited.
All right, well, that's just about it. Emma, do you want to do this week's sign-off?
No. You do it. I can't think of anything.
Okay. Listeners, I hope that this week, you return to the moon, but not attached to a giant clump spirit.